right, welcome to VoP this morning. My name is Moses Humphrey, and definitely joining me on the show is Esther Machuku, but you get to see her face much later. Now, 2 trillion naira went missing during the transition that saw the NNPC become NNPCL. Plus, a report by Human Rights Watch says Nigeria Air Force has belatedly accepted that it mistakenly killed about 39 persons in airstrikes on the Benue and Nasarawa border area. Well, these are the 2 stories on our radar today. Well, do well to click on the like button and subscribe to our page on YouTube. We are Voice of the People TV, and on other social media platforms, VoP TV Live. First off, as usual, we head into what the front pages are saying, and I have a VoP analyst with me in the studio, Cyril Abaku. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Moses.
All right, so without further ado, let's dive into it. All right, starting off with the Nation newspaper. It has very few headlines there. The Nation newspaper has this headline: Court stops EFCC, ICPC, DSS from arresting Yari. Our administration shall consult and dialogue but never dictate. Nigeria will be impartially governed according to the Constitution and the rule of law. President Bola Tinubu in his inaugural address, all right? And then on top of the nameplate, Tinubu to governors. It's time for governance. President asks NEC to work on subsidy palliatives. 75 senators elect backing Akpabio, says Ndume. Returnee student from Sudan gets conditions for admission, all right? And that's good news. All right, so yes, those are the headlines we have from the Nation newspaper.
Well, it's good. We are news. That's what it is.
Let's look at Akpabio. Akpabio said, he made a statement that 86, that before a certain time,
yes,
is 86 or 76.
Senators were behind his...
Will be behind him.
Yes.
Or more will join.
Yes, there are more we are going to join.
Are we seeing that happen now?
Well,
because the headline here is 75 senators elect are backing Akpabio.
Well, apparently, I think the other day there was also another headline. Senator Ningi had said that there were about 60 senators thereabout who were backing the Yari Kalu ticket. Yeah. So in the end, I'm happy. I always say this, I'm happy. Democracy is good for the optics. It's good for the reality of political evolution. It's good for society. It's good for the common man. So that 1 or 2 people are not gathering together to conspire to form an oligarchy that hijacks the will of the people. It's good when these men go to tango. In the end, it shouldn't be about really kickbacks and political consolidation. It should be about what I'm bringing to the table. They will be forced to respect the process.
If it's made about what you bring to the table.
Yes, it forces them to respect values. It forces them to respect the capacity of institutions to determine the outcome of this process, and not just the fact that somebody somewhere has nominated someone, and which we've seen in terms of contradiction. On the one hand, they were waiting for the president to make an endorsement. He made the endorsement. Then they said no, that they didn't want that endorsement. So was it that they wanted the president to bless what they wanted him to bless, or that they want? It's a contradiction of terms. I'm happy that in spite of what the party and the president have done, some people are saying no, that they don't want that they won't take that line low. So in the end, let them go to the turf and let them slug it out, as we say. The Yari camp and the Akpabio camp appear for now to be the leading horses in the race. When the day comes, that should, like I've always said it on this show, the call should be made for nominations and votes should be cast. And this should be televised.
Okay.
We want to see. We would like to see it on live TV. Those for so and so person raise up, because ideally by now they should have adopted electronic voting with a dashboard on the wall of the Senate. So when they say those who are voting for this person, cast your vote, Nigerians should be able to see real time which senator is voting for which candidate. We should see it because they are not that they want the elections on our behalf. Parliament is supposed to be all Nigerians gathered together. But since we can't do that all at once, we have what we call indirect representation. So they are there on our behalf. It's good. For the presidency, we didn't all vote for the same candidate. Some voted for PDP, some for APC, some for LP, some for NNPP, some for, for all the parties. You saw them, even SDP. Okay? So for as long as all these parties are represented on the floor of the Senate and House of Reps, it is a form, it's a good thing. Let the day come and let votes be cast. That's what I want to happen, regardless of what the president wants, okay?
Okay. Because
we need to guarantee the independence and, shall I even say, autonomy of the various arms of government. We talk about independence for the judiciary. I'm still wondering why the Senate and House of Reps, apparently we are waiting and took their bearing from what the president did and didn't do. But frankly speaking, if the Yari group is able to pull it through, it will now set the tone that in future, like Saraki also did in the past, that in future, the House of Senate or House of Reps can choose to depart from what the party is saying and do what it is they like.
All right, let's look at the court stopping EFCC, ICPC, DSS from arresting Yari. You do remember that, was it on Monday or Tuesday? The papers had that Yari went to see...
Daura.
Yes.
He took his case to the president, to the former president. So,
do you think that has that played any role in this? Did Daddy come to his rescue?
Excuse me. I can't say for sure.
Okay.
But because, when politicians meet, the real details of their conversations are not usually made public, except that you hear that it may not be unconnected. The media like to speculate. When people don't speak, they write speculatively. We saw the same thing happen when Governor Wike, former Governors Wike, Ibori, and serving Governor Makindo for you went to see the new president. When they came out, we didn't quite get to know what it was going to talk about, except that we know that this is a new government in which Mr. Wike, for example, is heavily invested. So obviously, or ostensibly, that was a meeting where they would have gone to discuss perhaps what was going to be in for them in the new government. So in Yari's own case, of course, we know that he's in the running. And this man appears to making it very clear that he's not here to be anybody's stooge or whatever. So the way he has even gone about it, now you see that Governor Kalu, whose voice we arguably had first, in seeking to be Senate president, appears now to be willing to join his ambition to that of Yari. So it calls into question. I thought he wanted Senate president or nothing. So is he willing to be somebody's deputy? Is that what he wants now? But the courts have spoken. I don't know why he has to protect himself with court injunctions. Because what we do in Nigeria, and let me be very brief with this, Moses, is that when an action needs to be taken, you will see one court will speak in Zamfara. A court of the same authority and jurisdiction
will speak in a different state.
Will speak in Benin. Another court will speak in Port Harcourt. Then the people who want to be your judges will select the one that they feel they should address or obey. So for me, hedging yourself around with court injunction does not necessarily mean anything really, but it's an unfolding drama, and we're seeing how June. I think it's June the 13th.
Yes, that's the date.
It's not so far away. Today is June the 8th, which means we have just 5 days.
Sometime next week then.
Yes, early next week most likely. So we want to see how it plays out.
All right. Well, the paper also has the court injunction there posted on its cover in its cover page. Well, same applies for Nigerian Tribune. It has this same headline with a picture of the court injunction. It says court stops EFCC, ICPC, DSS from arresting Yari. All right. And then another headline here. Petrol subsidy. Tinubu directs NEC to work on palliatives for Nigerians. Oil marketers to donate mass transit buses worth 10 billion naira. All right. We need to see. Okay. Now let's move away from that one. Let's go to the Punch now, where we have slightly different headlines. Subsidy. Tinubu orders Shettima, governors to work on salaries. Palliatives. Start work. Tinubu tells NEC as 22 governors, marketers back subsidy removal. Or your planned salary increase. Labour gives June 19th ultimatum on 200,000 naira minimum wage. And then when you go further up, you want to respond before we, take another
There are
headline
two
here.
things to be said about the meeting of the National Economic Council. Of course, by the Constitution, the Vice President is the chairman of that council. National Economic Council, not Economic Advisory Council, comprising governors, relevant people who advise the president, as well as the vice president himself, who is the chairman. It's a good thing that the president has given the marching orders, but beyond what we read in the papers, I think it's important that government has its end game in place.
Okay.
The reality being that subsidy has been a fraud all along. A nation couldn't have been paying 400 billion naira on subsidy every month. Don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. But we're taking it away. We haven't addressed the issue of who and who we are collecting
Exactly.
these fictitious sums. Nobody has said anything about that. That's like saying those who stole should go home and steal no more. What they hear is go home. When people even say we can put the money on subsidy back into health, back into education, the question I ask is it that there are no thieves in those places? Because you just watch it. You may hear after some months or some years that the money that maybe the place where government now put the bulk of those monies, go and check who the contractors will be, or who the the members of the board of those companies will be. Because the simple thing they will do is go back, regroup, and find a way to take what it is you took away from them from the first sector. Now that being said, we hear now that marketers are donating buses to federal government. They are not petrol buses. Those are buses that they call it compressed
CNG buses.
Yes, CNG buses. The viability, workability, operability of these buses, we don't know yet. Because I thought oil marketers should be donating buses that, should run on what we can all easily afford, what the operators can.
I think the idea is Nigeria is trying to move away from dependence on oil.
It's a conversation, but it's not reality yet, as far as I see it.
Petrol, I mean.
Yeah. Of course, I get what you mean. The whole world is moving away from fossil fuel. They're electric cars, after all. Yeah. How many governors or president, how many people are using CNG buses or cars in Nigeria right now? I don't know. So that is one. Not to say that it won't work, but like I said, government has to have its end game in place. That's one. Number two is the fact that how much is government now willing to pay as minimum wage?
That conversation, it's something that they haven't even delved into.
Labour has put 200,000 naira on the table.
The government is saying they will
The
review.
discussion has been pushed until June 19th. I hope that we won't come on June the 19th to begin to say that is when discussions will now begin. That's when discussion should be finalized. I hope we have our end game in place. Then number three is the fact that I think so far we've all come to the conclusion that subsidy has to go. I personally agree that subsidy has to go. But on the how of it's going, there is no unity, there's no consensus. Labour doesn't think that everything is in place that should be in place for subsidy to be taken away. Okay? And I was honestly hoping that a government that only came to say subsidy is gone and didn't put its own proposal on the table, I thought the government should have owned the conversation to say, in taking subsidy away, see what we are proposing, see what we want to do. That is in terms of wages, in terms of palliatives, we didn't hear anything. It's now the president is saying he's giving marching orders to governors and the vice president to say, go and work something out. I maintain my position that I hope that on June the 19th, we will now say that's when they now want to begin the conversation, because the fact is this: it has been said time and again, Nigerian corruption is not corruption because it is corruption for corruption's own sake. There is a great deal of poverty in the land.
Of course.
And you know how they say what the worker cannot access on the table, he will access it beneath the table. That's why we essentially where we are. Why people submit for files in the ministry, in the government offices, in all kinds of places, you come the follow, and just you step out and come back, they say the file is missing. But if you grease someone's palms, those files are going to come back out. Why? It's true. When the workers take home, cannot take him home, it's a breeding ground for corruption. So I want to believe that government has its end game in place, and that conversation should not wait until they are concluded on June the 19th, till June 19th comes. Then I say, okay, what I mean now?
Let us begin
Let's
conversation.
begin. No. I think that this thing should be concluded by June the 19th, because as of law, subsidy ought to run until the end of June. I don't know.
Course, yes.
This whole thing. So we need clarity, and there should be good organization. It's not enough that subsidy. Of course, we all agree that subsidy is corruption. Do we want corruption to thrive and continue? Of course not. But exactly how do we want to show subsidy the exit door? I think it's important that we are doing it the right way.
All right. I'm going to tie this story to that now. This is another headline here. This one reads, NNPCL to cut fuel imports from August. You might want to respond later, but let's get some other headlines out of the way. Customs uncover 25 duty evading factories in Lagos. And then 427,962 Nigerians in diaspora get NIN. All right? And National Assembly, Tinubu APC moved to appease anti-zoning members. Poor debt-ridden states give governors jumbo exit package. And then ex-SGF hands over Boko Haram detainees, Magu's cases to Akume. All right, so those are the headlines.
So these people behave like buccaneers sometimes. Like, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, Moses. Like cannibals. There's a particular ailment that affects human beings. I won't mention the name. But what it does is that it's like a person's immune system turning on the person. The immune system is supposed to provide a bulwark of protection to the body against external aggression. When people are infected with maybe during an outbreak, so some people don't get infected or don't fall for it, or even when they get infected, they don't feel the impact too much because the immunity is able to push it back. It happened during COVID. Some people are infected, but the level of was not. Yeah, so
asymptomatic and all of that.
Yes, because the immune system of the body is strong enough to push back the invasion. But there's a sickness, there's an ailment in which the immune system of the body now begins to eat up the person's brain. Yes, this is like the people who are supposed to be defenders of the public good, now turning on the system. You run a state, at the end of which your state is poor.
I was wondering what story you were going to. Just waiting.
Did you get it now?
Yes, I understand.
Even if you inherited a poor revenue or poor wealth profile of this land and couldn't improve it, shouldn't that even be a pointer for you to say that it is better I left it the way it was than I did more harm to it? Now you left it. Your state is either poor or poorer, and then it is debt-ridden.
And then you're taking packages.
You are taking jumbo packages home. I mean, on the one hand, it sounds laughable, but on the other hand, it is tragic. And these people ought to be told that the day will come when the history of this country will be rewritten, and a lot of them will have their names written in infamy. Because while they had a chance to save the fire that was consuming the empire, consuming the state, consuming the country, they fiddled like Nero. They are fiddling. In fact, they are not just fiddling, they are doing more harm than good. When you are given the trust and mandate to do your nation well, to do your state, or to do people well, you have that opportunity that out of, let's say, 3 million or 10 million people, you are singled out, either by fate or by whatever it was. You find a way that you got there, and the only thing you can do is to leave the people poorer, and then at your own expense, and you become richer at people's own expense. I don't think it's right. Even if there was a law that said that money should be given to you, reject it. The law didn't say that you must take it, reject it. Rescind the law. We've become a country where they say if it's not in the law, then it's not binding. As far as the law didn't say it that way, it's not binding. We've moved from a country where we understand the principle of substantive justice, of what is morally good, to anything we can regulate our way out of, just regulate our way out of it and say the law didn't say I should do it, the law didn't mandate me to not do it, and so it's all a joke. I hope that we will come to the point where leadership has understanding of the fact that there is a difference, as I always say, between a manager and a leader. There's a big difference. The manager tells you that there's a handbook for management and that's what he's going to follow. You can't blame him for that. But a leader understands empathy, understands human feeling, understands these things. These men have proven time and again that they don't care. Moses, let me wrap it. The other day, I can't remember the story that came out, either involving the NNPC corruption or the presidency under Buhari. And I'm saying this on TV to be very honest with you, I didn't know when I spontaneously said that if government, police, and all these people can look away from this humongous corruption, why then do they go after Yahoo boys? As bad as that is, and as much as I denounce, online fraud, if I think it was in your intro, in your headline, where you said that NNPC that didn't move building, they just changed the name from NNPC to NNPCL, and 2 trillion naira went with it. And the EFCC is looking for Yahoo boys in Gulf Estate in Port Harcourt. They are looking for people who stole, you see a man who stole a mobile phone in a barber shop, has back 5 years in prison. Meanwhile, humongous sums of money, and these are the ones that even come to the public space. If not for that, we even have this House of Reps, what's it called, hearing, we perhaps won't even have known.
Won't even know. It's pathetic indeed.
So I mean, who is deceiving? Who's not deceiving who? The laws are made for some people, not for everybody.
That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. Oh well. In as much as, yes, we know that things are not going the way we expect them to, but over here we are not in any way trying to support any form of crime. Crime is crime.
Yeah.
Just to put that out there. All right, so in line with talking about crime and money, we're back to the 2 trillion naira that has gone missing. Well, 2 trillion naira, is it too much money to go missing all at once? But Nigerian corruption, certainly not faith, but Nigerian corruption can make anything possible. All right. Now, that's a conversation we'll be going into when we come back on the show. Stay with us.
Bom, bom, help me.